The Atlanta Braves claim Ian Anderson off of waivers from the Angels, but how are they going to add him to the roster? Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Monday, April 28th. This is your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. We have a lot to get to from the weekend. We're going to talk about whose stock is up and whose stock is down after it says the series. Really, it's going to be the week that was. We're going to talk about that series, right? And some of the turning points of that series and what we learned about the Atlanta Braves. But first, we've got to talk about Ian Anderson being back. The Atlanta Braves claimed Ian Anderson on Sunday morning off of waivers from the Los Angeles Angels. You'll remember this whole thing. They traded him at the end of spring to the Angels in return for lefty reliever Jose Suarez. Suarez was not bad in Atlanta from a statistical perspective, but it was very similar to Ian Anderson's spring, right? The ERA was good despite a lot of walks, a lot of hard hit contact. It managed to work out, but the Braves could tell that it was smoke and mirrors. So the Braves DFA'd Jose Suarez when they traded for Scott Blewett last week. Suarez made it through waivers and is now in Gwinnett with the Stripers. Ian Anderson, when he went to the Angels, they put him into a relief role, and he struggled. So for context here, in the spring, Ian Anderson had 20 walks and 10 strikeouts in 20 innings. He only allowed 8 hits and 5 runs, so it's a 2.25 ERA. He fixed some of those issues when he got to LA. He allowed only 7 walks in 9 1/3 innings, and he picked up 8 strikeouts. But he allowed 17 hits and 13 runs. 12 of those were earned. So 11.57 ERA, which led the Angels to DFA Ian Anderson last week. And while there's a couple things that you can be frustrated about, or you can point out were wrong about the way the Angels used Ian Anderson, it's safe it's correct to say he was not good in LA. The first bad outing in relief he had on April 2nd was a back-to-back, right? He threw 2 straight days in relief, the first time in his career he had ever been asked to do that. We talked on the show back in spring about how he had never, in any capacity in professional baseball, pitched in relief. And how, as a former first-round pick out of high school, odds are the only time he did not start in his high school career was if he came in relief on short rest in like a playoff game or something for his high school team. So he literally never had done a back-to-back in his life until they asked him to do it to start the April. And of course, 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned, and 1 inning against St. Louis because he just didn't have his stuff. He'd never done that before in his life. But they had outings where they gave him 4 or 5 days off and then asked him to pitch a couple innings, and he still looked bad, right? So again, 11.57 ERA, they DFA'd him. Atlanta claimed him off of waivers. And I was a little bit nervous about recording this show right here because Ian Anderson's supposed to join the team today in Colorado. And to me, the worst case scenario was recording this. It's about 9:30 Eastern time right now as I record. The worst case scenario for me was to record this, and between when I recorded it and when it goes up at noon, they would officially make the transaction, and we would have the answers to what I'm going to talk about, how you fit him on the roster, and then consequently, who starts on Tuesday for you. So if you're hearing me explain, that means they have not announced it yet, and I did not have to just dump this entire show and go live at noon to talk about what happened. Now, the beat in Arizona. So Mark Bowman of MLB.com, David O'Brien of The Athletic, and our friend Justin Toscano of the AJC, they did confirm with the Braves, Ian Anderson's not going to be starting in this series in Colorado. He's going to join the team today, but he's going to work out of the pen. And so you can figure out one of the two moves, right? Because the two moves you have to make is you have to add him to the roster, and then you have to figure out the Tuesday starter. Now, on Sunday morning, before they announced they claimed Ian Anderson, the Braves DFA'd Jesse Chavez again to call up Davis Daniel. Davis Daniel is a starter. He was the scheduled starter on Saturday for Gwinnett. They used him in relief on Sunday. He pitched the final inning of the game. He was fine, right? Wasn't awesome, wasn't terrible. He was fine. So, your options to add Ian Anderson today, there's a couple things you can do, okay? Thing number one, you can option somebody back to Gwinnett. Only real option you have there is Davis Daniel. I'll explain that in a second. You can designate somebody for assignment, or you can place someone on the IL. So, let's take all of these. When it comes to optioning a person to Gwinnett, the only real option you have here is Davis Daniel. Okay? So he pitched an inning on Sunday. Meaning he likely is not going to be able to start on Tuesday. We did see Grant Holmes do something like this where he pitched an inning in relief in the season's first week and then started a few days later. It wasn't this compressed of a time frame. He had an extra day in there. It is theoretically possible that you keep Davis Daniel and he starts on Tuesday. I don't expect that. Again, it's possible. I don't expect that. So, Davis Daniel would make the most sense unless you were going to have him come back and start on Tuesday. He makes the most sense to be optioned back to Gwinnett to make room for Ian Anderson to join the team. Because your other pitchers that have minor league options, remember, you can't option down a position player to add Ian Anderson because there's rules about how many pitching spots and how many position player spots. So you'd have to have a second transaction in there to get rid of a pitcher if you wanted Ian Anderson to take that spot. Your options. Daisabel Hernandez is your primary setup man. With Raisel Iglesias being a little bit shaky, blowing a save on Saturday, you need Daisabel Hernandez up here. He is your primary setup man. He's probably right now your fill-in closer if Iglesias is unavailable. We'll get to that in a second. Dylan Lee, he's your go-to lefty out of the pen. He got the save on Saturday in extra innings. Bryce Elder, he's your announced starter today. So you're not going to option him down to replace him with Ian Anderson because Anderson's not starting. And Spencer Schwellenbach technically has all three options left, and he's not going anywhere. That's not happening. So when it comes to optioning somebody down, there's literally not another realistic option other than Davis Daniel. But there are other things you can do, okay? You can designate somebody for assignment. That's thing one. And that would be, really to me, the person that would end up being would be Rafael Montero. He pitched twice against the Cardinals. He did pitch a third of an inning on Sunday. So twice against the Cardinals, a third of an inning. And against the Cardinals, he was not good. 41 pitches across both appearances, a total of 3 outs, 3 hits, 3 walks, 3 earned runs, a single strikeout. So he was not good when he pitched against the Cardinals. Again, he came in the game on Sunday to finish up an inning. He threw exactly 6 pitches. He got a short fly ball from Eugenio Suarez to get out of I think it was the 7th inning after Aaron Bummer got in a little bit of trouble and allowed 2 runs to Josh Naylor on a double. He's probably the one, if you were going to DFA somebody, it would be Montero. But even then, it just doesn't feel very likely. His contract, $11.5 million this year. Houston's covering about $8.5 million. Between the money they sent you and the money that they've already paid him because he started the year on their roster. So if you DFA him, he likely clears waivers simply because if somebody else claims him, they're on the hook for that contract. They inherit the contract if they claim him. He probably clears waivers. That's something where he is a veteran. He would have the option to elect free agency and still get paid that money that he's owed. Or he could decline free agency and go to Gwinnett. I doubt he would go to Gwinnett. I also doubt the Braves have been able to get him to sign advance consent to be sent to the minors. So you probably lose him. The third option here is you can play somebody on the injured list. Honestly, I'm watching for Raisel Iglesias here. His mechanics are not right. He's leaving everything up in the zone, and that's just completely opposite of how he pitches. He's not injured, per se. And the league has cracked down on phantom IL stints, where you claim a guy is injured when he's perfectly healthy. But there is some middle ground here, because every major league pitcher deals with soreness. It's possible that they talk to Iglesias about soreness and inflammation, and they put him on the injured list. And so you can option Davis Daniel down to add Ian Anderson, or you can put Raisel Iglesias on the injured list to add Ian Anderson. And then on Tuesday, when you need a starter, and we all expect it to be AJ Smith-Shawver, you can do the other one of those moves to add AJ Smith-Shawver to start Tuesday in Colorado. Those are the only real moves that make sense to me to make both of the roster decisions this week. Is Raisel Iglesias on the IL, unless somebody else is legitimately hurt, we don't know that, and optioning Davis Daniel back down. Because right now, you're carrying 4 starters, Schwellenbach, Elder, Sale, and Holmes. You're not going to get rid of any of them. But you have an extra reliever in your pen. So Daniel for Ian Anderson is reliever for reliever. Iglesias for Smith-Shawver is reliever for starter, giving you a 5-man rotation and giving you an 8-man bullpen. I don't know. I'm really curious to see what the Tuesday move would be if they don't do that. It's possible the Tuesday move is DFA and Ian Anderson. They may just decide to move on from Ian Anderson. Scott Blewett, they just acquired him via trade. Maybe they use him tonight, and then they turn around and decide, you know what? We're going to go ahead and DFA him. If he clears waivers, which isn't a guarantee, I don't believe he has enough service time to elect free agency. I'm not sure about the rule of if you've been outrighted off the roster at least once, the next time you can elect free agency. I don't know if that's once per team or once in general. So maybe he can elect free agency, maybe he can't. I don't know. But it feels like the most likely scenario as from where we sit here on Monday morning. Davis Daniel gets optioned down to make 1 spot. Raisel Iglesias goes on the IL with soreness or inflammation for the 2nd spot. And then Daysbel Hernandez and Dylan Lee are probably your guys who are picking up saves while Iglesias is out. He has to be out for 15 days if he goes on the IL. So it's risky. It is absolutely risky. You got the Dodgers coming to town this weekend. It is risky to do this, but we'll see what happens. In just a second, let's talk about the series over the weekend. There was a couple things to like, a couple things to not like. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery. These are the absolute best sunflower seeds on the market. I have 4 boxes that are full of these sunflower seeds, these sampler packs right now. All 8 flavors. Original, balance of saltiness and sweetness. It's not too salty. That's the biggest complaint I have about so many sunflower seeds, is they give you that sandpaper tongue. The original flavor for Chinook Seedery is just Like the perfect pinch of sea salt, right? Outside of that, though, really interesting, fun flavors. Lemon pepper, jalapeno ranch, smokehouse barbecue, hatch chili, dill pickle, cinnamon toast, Parmesan and pepper. I go through a bag for every single game right here at my desk. If you want to try them, ChinookCeatery.com, ChinoOok. You can get a sampler pack of all 8 flavors. When you figure out what you like, you can either buy a variety pack, which is just a case of everything, or you can build your own with just the flavors you like. Either way, the sampler pack, the case, whatever you want, promo code BRAVES gets you 10% off, free shipping on an order over $40, and supports the Braves Today podcast. Again, ChinookCeatery.com, promo code BRAVES for 10% off, free shipping over $40, and a convenient way to support the Braves Today podcast. The Atlanta Braves won the series against the Diamondbacks over the weekend. Game 1 on Friday, 8-2. Game 2, 8-7 in 10 innings. They lost Game 3, 6-4. So not a sweep, but a series win. And I wanted to winners and losers from the series and the week that was, but overall thoughts on the series. I think this was a really good, this has to be good for morale, right? Because the Braves faced adversity in several of these games. Look at that Saturday game. Eugenio Suarez hit 4 home runs on Saturday and lost. It is the 3rd time in baseball history, and only the 2nd time in the last 100 years that that's happened. Fun fact, the last time it happened, the Atlanta Braves were on the wrong side of this. Bob Horner hit 4 home runs, but the Expos beat the Braves. The Braves were on the wrong side. They've been involved in 2 of the 3 times it's happened in baseball history. And when you look at how this whole thing went, one of the big takeaways for me is the bottom of the order. When you have the combination of Michael Harris, Eli White, and Nick Allen down there, the bottom of the order has done some work. Okay? Friday night, 8-2 victory. 4 of those 8 runs were that bottom 3. Okay? You also had some runs scored by the middle of the order. Matt Olson scored a run. Sean Murphy scored a run. That was a home run for him. I'm sorry, that was not a home run. Atlanta had no home runs in that one. Sean Murphy scored a run. Ozzie Albies scored a run and had an RBI. And so the bottom of the order, 4 runs, 3 RBI. They're not only getting on base and scoring, they're driving in the guys in front of them. You'll love that. Flip over to Saturday. Guess what? The bottom of the order, 3 hits, 4 RBI, and a run. Eli White continues to just be amazing. He hits a home run in this one in the 7th inning, a big home run in the 7th inning for 2 runs there. That gave Atlanta a lead before Raisel Iglesias gave that up in the 9th on Eugenio Suarez, 4th homer of the game. We'll get to Iglesias in a minute. But, again, the bottom of the order there, doing a lot of work. On Sunday, the bottom of the order, 4 runs, 4 hits, an RBI. 2 more RBI from Alex Verdugo, going 4 for 4 at leadoff. And it was a little bit different mix in Game 3 because it was White, Baldwin, and Allen. Drake Baldwin bumped down to 8th when he came in, starting the day game after a night game. But the point is, Eli White's one of the fastest is the fastest player on the team. One of the faster players in baseball. Also has a torpedo bat. I wonder if that's just a mental thing, if it's actually helping, whatever. Nick Allen, more defensive range than Orlando Arcia, better contact ability. He's hitting .262 right now, which isn't amazing, but it's much better than Arcia's sub 200 from last year, right? The lineup is different with those guys at the bottom. They have a better ability to put the ball into play than Jared Kelenic and Orlando Arcia. They have more speed to take advantage of hits from the guys behind them. And we saw it a couple times over the weekend. Atlanta getting the ball in play and making Arizona play defense. I believe Arizona had either 2 or 3 errors on the weekend. And I want to say every one of them was a play involving the bottom of the order. I'm not 100% confident on that. That's all just off my head and off of vibes. I didn't have that in my notes. But I'm pretty sure one of those bottom of the order guys was part of the play with the error every time. Whether it was a pickoff attempt or a stolen base, throwing for a stolen base, a grounder in the infield that Eugenio Suarez had a fielding error on, whatever it is, those guys are producing. So you have to keep them in there. You have to let them play. And you can see this in the weekly numbers. Orlando Arcia, the last 7 days, has played in 1 game and has 3 plate appearances. He's also over 3 for the record, too. Jared Kelenic has a total of 10 plate appearances in 3 games over the last 7 days. Eli White started 4 or 5 consecutive games now. And fun fact, he has more RBI in that stretch than Arcia and Kelenic combined had for the entire season in almost 100 plate appearances. My biggest takeaway from this series is that I don't know what it is about that bottom of the lineup. I've mentioned a couple different factors here, but it's working, and you got to ride the hot hand. You have to keep that going. If White and Allen aren't in the lineup tonight in Colorado, we riot. We're driving to the Battery. We're banging on the doors. We're shaking the gates. We're figuring out what happened because those guys need to be in the lineup every day until they just stop producing. Because this team, the hole that you dug yourselves, 0-7 start to the year, they've been one of the better teams in baseball since that first homestand. Still not over 500. You want to be over 500 and after this series, you got to sweep, which you could sweep Colorado. They're the worst team in baseball this year. It's a different team every year. It was the Athletics 2 years ago. It's the White Sox last year. It's the Rockies this year. But unless you sweep them, you're still under 500 at the end of April. So it's possible. In just a second, let's talk about stock up, stock down. I want to talk about, we just did some stock up there with Allen and White. Let's talk about the guys where things aren't going great. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby, final segment. Real quick, while I have you, do me a favor. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review with some kind words. Apple, Spotify, whatever Google uses for podcasts nowadays. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we drop tomorrow's episode. These come out at noon, Monday through Friday. I usually hop in the live chat. We like to just chat, answer questions, have a little community going there. So join us, won't you? Okay, we covered stock up there, right? We didn't get everybody. Raleigh didn't have a great series. He really struggled out in the desert. Just couldn't. He's been a streaky player, but just couldn't really do a lot of stuff. He's still batting .360 for the last week. Let's be clear on this. He's still batting .360, even after such a poor series in Arizona. Okay? Marcell Ozuna batting .350 in the last week, despite not having a great series, I would argue, in Arizona. He did hit a home run. He did have a runner in score position RBI. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. Ozzie Albies is a problem right now. He batted .185 for the last week, the last 6 games. 1 double, 5 for 27, 3 strikeouts and a walk. He did steal a base. But Sunday was the microcosm of how bad he has been. Okay, 7th inning. Eli White gets on via infield error. I think that was the Eugenio Suarez error. Drake Baldwin singles. Nick Allen singles back up the middle. White scores. Okay, Brandon Pfaadt leaves the game because, they had brought him out for the 7th. And sure, go ahead and get a little... We talked on Friday about how their bullpen's just really struggling right now. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Alex Verdugo comes in, 4th hit of the day, drives in another, became a 4-3 lead for Arizona at that point. From there, Austin Riley strikes out. Again, rough series for him. Marcell Ozuna strikes out. And the put-away pitch was some chase out of the zone, which is just the thing he's not been doing. He went after a fastball off the plate outside and swung and missed. Matt Olson walks to load the bases. Matt Olson's been doing great in that respect. 6 walks in the last six games. Ozuna has 8. Olson has 6. I think Riley has 3. Murphy has 3. Nobody else has more than 2. Ozzie Albies pops out to foul territory. And not only does he pop out, it's a 1-1 fastball down the middle of the plate. Solidly attacks zone 5. That he misses. And it's not a good look. It's really not a good look. Ozzie Albies gets an opportunity to add on to the lead and misses a completely hittable pitch and pops it up yet again. He's been popping up way too many pitches this year. In the 9th inning, 2 outs, runner in scoring position after Marcell Ozuna hits. Ozzie gets another chance. 4-pitch at bat. He takes a called strike down the middle. He fouls off a fastball down the middle. He fouls off a splitter down and in. And then he gets a 4-seam fastball down the middle. And it's a lazy fly out to center field. I know Snitker's not going to do this. But on Sunday in that situation, Atlanta should have pinch hit for Ozzie Albies. The way he's been swinging the bat in the last week, Atlanta should have pinch hit for Ozzie Albies. Obviously, Snit's not going to do that. He's not going to take a veteran out of the game like that. But Ozzie Albies is just, he is not right. He is not right at the moment. And we've got to figure it out. I talked last week about his bat being super heavy and all of that, and I understand he needs the extra mass and momentum so that he can get some extra power and everything. But just, you've got to fix Ozzie Albies. He's killing you there. The other guy that's really struggling here, Raisel Iglesias. The Braves gave him a couple days off after he gave up runs to St. Louis. It didn't work in that 9th. He gave up a home run to Eugenio Suarez on an elevated pitch in the zone. Again, his last 2 games, 4 runs on 5 hits, including 2 home runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. He now has allowed more home runs this season than he allowed all of 2024. Which, not great. Last year, 69 and a third innings in the regular season, 1 out too many. 4 home runs in 259 batters. Okay. This year for Raisel Iglesias, 40 batters, I think 10 innings, 5 home runs. Atlanta's got to figure this out. That's part of the reason why I think there's a legitimate possibility this week he goes on the injured list for shoulder soreness, shoulder fatigue, like arm fatigue, inflammation, whatever it might be. They find a way to get him on the IL, so he has 2 weeks to try to get right. In a free agency year, that's the thing. This is a walk year for him. He needs to be good. And I think that it's better for him and his hopes of getting a contract, either a contract extension from Atlanta or a multi-year deal from somebody else. If he takes 2 weeks now, figures everything out, and then comes back and is as close to last year's Raisel Iglesias as he can be. I think that's the best option that he has for the rest of the season and for his career in his contract year. Spencer Schwellenbach, I'm not giving him a stock down. People are going to expect that after he struggled a little bit on Sunday. I had that here a second ago, but it wasn't his best start of the year. It really was not. He allowed 4 runs, 3 earned in 6 innings. Quality start still. 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. The unearned run that's in there was an error by him. So really, It should be 4 earned runs because it was his throwing error. I think it was to second base on a ball back up the middle, but still. I thought he was good. Like, he obviously didn't have his best stuff. They were not going after he was not able to fool anybody with that fastball. He got like one whiff on the fastball. I talked about this in the postcast yesterday. But he battled, and you ultimately got a quality start out of it. So some people are down on Spencer Schwellenbach. I know that I think it was David O'Brien of The Athletic, one of his takeaways and like the title of his article from the series was Spencer Schwellenbach hits a lull. I thought he was good enough. This is going to happen to a guy, career high workload last year. He is having to carry the rotation right now. Chris Sale is not that guy right now. Schwellenbach is not playing. I'm sorry, Strider's not playing. Wrong Spencer. Strider's not playing. Ronaldo Lopez is on the IL. Like, Schwellenbach's having to carry the rotation. I think he did okay. I think he was fine. He was not the problem on Sunday. Ozzie Albies was the problem on Sunday. In general, missing opportunities was the problem on Sunday. And reminder, BravesToday.com, I'm dropping today's 3 things from every game with what was the turning point? What are you going to be talking about? Who was the MVP of the game and all of that? So go check that out. Again, BravesToday.com, free or paid, either way, helps us out a ton. Thanks for being here. Again, Braves Today, Monday, April 28th. Listening on audio, leave a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. Either way, friends, do me a favor. Tell a friend. Tell a friend about Braves Today that they can come and get daily deep dives, recaps, and everything on their Atlanta Braves. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.